Since I stopped drinking alcohol, I've just become obsessed with something that I really think is taking over my life. It's not the worst of obsessions, actually. I think it's the best of all obsessions, and that's being obsessed with your life, with living your life, with being the best possible version of yourself, with looking at your life from all angles and seeing how you can not only improve the quantity of your life, how long you live, but also the quality of your life. Isn't that the most important thing? That at the end of your life you can say to yourself, do you know what? I lived the best life that I could live. Even if that life is saying to yourself, well, I lived the best life that I could live after I was 46, or after I was 56, or after whatever it is, but I gave myself that opportunity. I looked at my life, I looked at the things that I was doing in my life, I changed so much of my life, and I became a different and a better person for it. Isn't that the best way of doing things? You know, in order to live the best life that you can live, in order to live the best possible version of yourself, you've got to obsess about yourself. You've got to obsess about your own life. And some people will say, well, that's selfish, but how else are you going to live the best quality life? How else are you going to provide for other people if you don't obsess about becoming the best possible version of yourself? If you don't obsess about yourself from that perspective, obsess about your life and how it's going and where it's going in life. When you're trying to live the best possible version of yourself, when you're trying to live your best possible life, it doesn't mean to say that you can't focus on others. That's part of being the best person that you can be, is to help other people. But how can you help other people when you're not even helping yourself? I hear so many people talking about, from the perspective of, I'm going to go out and they focus their minds on outside stuff, on worldly things, you know, on the environment, on one big issue after another. But what a lot of people are doing is they're focusing outwards so they don't have to focus inwards. And that's a big problem in my view, because if you don't look after yourself, if you're not helping yourself, if you're not trying to fix some of the shit that's going on in your own head, how can you even view the world in a right way? How can you view any of these problems in the right way? You're looking at them from, you know, you see people looking at them and they're changing, going from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing, and everything is about trying to make themselves look good in the eyes of other people, instead of changing the way that they're thinking themselves. So here's 3 things that you can do to start obsessing about your own sober life, to get beyond sober. The first thing is to focus on small improvements. Just take this bit by bit. Now all you're doing is making a little improvement, and those small improvements will add up over time, over your lifetime, into a great life. Second thing is to focus on balance. You know, you've got to have a balance across your whole life. You've got to have a balance in your friendships, in your relationships, in your what you study, you know, your education, in your career, across all different aspects of your life. And number 3, be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your thoughts. Be patient with the process. Be patient through your failures, because you're going to have failures. Understand that failure is part of the success. I have to make a confession here. I've become addicted since I stopped drinking alcohol. I've become obsessed with something since I've stopped drinking alcohol, and that obsession is myself and my life. And I'm telling you one thing, from the perspective of having an obsession, it's not such a bad thing, you know. It's what I consider to be one of the best things that you can do. How can you live the best possible version of yourself? You know, life is about not only living a quantity life, you know, more years in your life. It's also about trying to live the best quality of life that you can live. And in order to do that, you've got to obsess on what's going on up here. The mindsets that you have, the ways that you think about things, the ways that you, those thoughts and ideas, those rituals and sequences translate into your actions in life, into your behaviors, and how those behaviors ultimately affect what you do. When I was a drinker, alcohol was the obsession. You know, everything that I did started to revolve around alcohol. Had to have that perspective of alcohol. I was working for the weekends. It's not just about the alcohol, it's about the idea, the mindset. It's about that idea of not having to think about things, of getting into a mindset of I want to have fun now in the moment. I don't want to have to think about things. I don't want to have to think about problems. I want to live this fantasy life. I want to live a life where I can do what I want in the moment. Don't have to feel the feelings that I don't want to feel. I don't have to think the thoughts that I don't have to think. And I can live my life like that, and that's going to be okay for me. That's a very childish way of thinking, and it only leads you in one direction, and that is your life starts to revolve around alcohol. You know, alcohol becomes like a black hole that's sucking everything else in. You know, all the other things in your life, your family, your career, your all the other social aspects of your life, you know, going out and being with people, you know, actually being there and talking to them and being in the moment, that all gets sucked away from you, because when you drink alcohol, it's a very selfish thing. You know, you're the only one who's experiencing these feelings. You're the only one who's experiencing the drunkenness. You're the only one who is experiencing the dumbification. Everyone else can see it if they're sober, you know, other sober people can see it, but you can't. So it was just one of the most unhealthy obsessions that I had. And like I said, it was getting worse and worse and worse. The quantity of my life was definitely suffering. I wasn't going to live as long as I could have done because of the alcohol, and the quality of life was most certainly suffering. Now I'm obsessed with trying to get as most as I can out of my life, trying to get as much out of every day as I possibly can. And that basically boils down to one principle, and that's 1% improvement. It's taking one aspect of your life and trying to improve it by 1%, by a small fraction, you know, 1%. Some of the things that you do, you can't numerate it into, you know, you can't quantify it into well, I've improved by 1%, but you get the drift. It's basically saying, I'm going to make these small adjustments in my life. I'm going to make these small improvements, and those small improvements are going to accumulate over the month, over 6 months, over a year, over my lifetime. And you know, you don't have to choose the same thing every day. You can choose something different, but it's having a balance and thinking about these things in terms of, one day I'm going to improve this, next day I'm going to improve that. You know, you can, by all intents and purposes, you know, follow one improvement after another in the same area, but try and have balance. So really what I'm trying to say to you is that you need to get a healthy focus. Be obsessed about yourself, be obsessed about your life and where you're going in life, because nobody else is going to obsess about you or your life the way you can. And obsessing about your life, you know, trying to get to that best possible version of yourself, that doesn't mean that you can't think about other people. That's part of the process of becoming the best possible version of yourself, is to focus on other people and to see how you can help other people. Because when you raise other people, when you think about other people, you think about the type of person that you want in your life. There's two ways of getting that. You can either go out and search for those people, which is a good way of doing it, or you can try and lift those people along with you. Now, I'm not saying that you have to force people, or you can force people into making changes that they don't want to make. They have to be able to make those decisions on, you know, most people will only choose to do something if they make the decision on their own. But by making those changes in your own life, and by increasing your own values, by focusing on things that you want to do in your life, by focusing on making those small adjustments and small improvements, by increasing the quantity and the quality of your own life, other people see this. You know, it's not very difficult to see that you're making these improvements, that, you know, you can see it in somebody's face when they stop drinking alcohol, when they start to make other improvements in their lives. You can see it. You can see it in what they're doing. You can see it in their outlook. You can see it in what they're focusing on. You can see it in their successes and their achievements. So this is something that is, if you focus on your life, on your own life, you help other people. You know, a rising tide raises all ships. It just doesn't raise your own. So if you like this video, have a look at this one next. Take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you again soon. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.